I happened to be watching Michael Smerconish the other day, and he had Russell Muirhead on as a guest, and I thought this is really interesting because you talk about a book. Typically, a book has just been released, right? But the book that Russell Muirhead co-authored is called A Lot of People Are Saying, The New Conspiracism and the Assault on Democracy. That book was published, if I'm correct, in 2019. Here we are talking about it today because yet again, or perhaps yet still, conspiracy theories abound everywhere. Russell Muirhead is on the line. Say good afternoon. Sir, thank you so much for coming on. Very much appreciate your time.
What a pleasure. Happy to be here, Aaron.
So let me ask, between the time you wrote this, right, this is talking roughly 7 years ago, and now, could you ever have imagined that this would still be an issue as big or bigger now than it even was back then?
That's such a good question, because I have to tell you, when we finished, I wrote this book with a friend of mine, Nancy Rosenblum. When we finished the book, we sent it to the press to be published. It takes a while before it comes out. And we looked at each other and said to each other, hey, what if this all goes away before the book comes out? We're going to look like fools.
Yeah, fair enough. And then again, here you are. You look now like a genius because, we keep bringing up this idea of conspiracy. And I know that the one thing it gets framed in lately is the fact that so many people actually believe that the assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life were actually staged.
Exactly. I mean, we're in a world where every news cycle creates a new wave of conspiratorial conjecture. And it's there almost every day of the week. And if you're looking on X, if you're looking on even Facebook, you'll see this stuff all the time.
Yeah. You argue, I mean, the point, I guess, if you can call it coining a term, you say it's conspiracy without theory. So explain that.
In the old world, like in the 1970s, you think of like the number one conspiracy theory in American politics over the last, 60, 75 years would be the JFK assassination conspiracy theory. That this, the official story was hiding the real truth, that it wasn't one lone gunman. And the people who were into that conspiracy theory, I mean, they worked and worked and worked. They were like scholars. They were like investigatory journalists. They wrote books. Their books had footnotes and details and facts. And so that was like a theory. That was classic conspiracy theory. Now it's just bare assertion. It's like, boom, the election was rigged. And you don't have to say any more than that. There's no theory.
Yeah. Which is troubling when you consider, so you mentioned JFK, right? And I think back, you're right. There were different theories then, of course, but the Warren Commission spent years putting together every piece of information and evidence there was. That kind of went away.
Yes, right. So there was the official account in the Warren Commission, and then accounts that tried to challenge it, which had to be at least as detailed and thorough as the official account. It's very hard to challenge any official explanation. And that's the burden that the old conspiracy theorists took on. And sometimes they were kind of zany. Sometimes they'd work themselves into a little bit of a hole. Sometimes they were right. And that was the unnerving thing. Not all conspiracy theories are wrong just because they're conspiracy theories. So I think, conspiracy theory in the classic sense was often a very helpful thing, and it held the powerful to account. What we have now is just a whiteout blizzard that makes it hard to know what's true, what's false, what's happening.
I'm not sure if it's fair not to ask you why you think this is happening. I'm guessing social media obviously has a lot to do with it because, as you said, you don't need to explain anything. You just need to make a point, and then depending on who reads it and propagates that point, it becomes that theory.
Yeah, I think you named it. It's like, for instance, to get on your show, one has to get past your very, very good producer who vets your guests and tries to figure out whether what they're saying, is reasonable and true. Now, but to post something on X, on Twitter, there's no filter. There's no producer. There's no editor. There's no one saying, hey, does this make sense? Can we put this on the evening news? And so anyone can say anything to everyone in the whole world for free. And that's what's really unleashed this kind of, this immense tidal wave of conspiracism.
I wonder, given that, is there any turning back? I mean, it's the genie's out of the bottle. Are we basically looking at this for God knows how many more years? This is not going to change anytime soon.
No, it's not going back. I mean, it's sort of like a Gutenberg moment. There is a massive change in communication technology. The priests aren't the only ones who can read the Bible anymore, and we're not going back. And we're going to have to learn how to use and live with this communication technology and orient ourselves in a very disorienting information environment.
Great. How do we do that? Do you have the solution for that? How do we orient ourselves to this?
It's a good question. I wish I did have the solution. I will say this. I think that, it's easy to get disoriented if we interact all day long and all night long with our screen. We need to get out in the world. We need to get outside. We need to touch grass. We need to spend time in face-to-face relationships and root ourselves in the real world. That's the basis of common sense. And that's what I do think will save us, but we have to get away from our screens.
It's really interesting you bring that up. I had someone on maybe about 45 minutes ago, a woman, 3 teenage sons, found out that, the teacher in her school had suggested they use AI to come up with flashcards. And of course, she's aghast at that idea because she had a great quote, which was, and this is for teenagers, but it could apply. And her position, by the way, is that you shouldn't be able to get on social media until you've reached the age of 16, something that other jurisdictions have already done, like Australia, for example. But she wrote this, she wrote, the most rewarding things in life are born of drudgery and struggle. And that's what her kids should be going through to get to the end, right? That kind of makes you, get somewhere by doing the work. I worry as you lay this out, our kids are already on this stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I love that idea of waiting until you're 16, and yeah, I don't know if all drudgery and struggle sounds a little bleak, but I would say that screens are very titillating. They make it easy to spend another minute, another 10 minutes, another hour. They titillate us, and yeah, maybe everyday life isn't quite that exciting, quite that titillating, but it's not necessarily drudgery either. Getting out there with real other people, building friendships, doing fun things in the real world, hanging out, that's actually pretty engaging, and that's what real life is about.
Yeah, and the sad part about that is the numbers show us that we are doing less and less of that all the time, especially for younger people, right? There's some studies.
Yeah, look, we thought this technology would be great for education, and now we know better, and we have to change that.
Mr. Muirhead, I thank you so much for the time. Really enjoyed the conversation. The book, by the way, is called, again, if you want to get out there and pick it up, a lot of people are saying, if you go somewhere and find it, you're looking at the publication date and you're saying, wait a second, this is not a new book. It shows it was out in 2019. It's as valid and interesting today as it was the day it was published. So if you're interested in this and conspiracy theories, you'll want to pick this up. I should point out, Mr. Muirhead, right now as we were speaking, right, of conspiracy theories, I got a text which says, you still think Oswald was the only shooter? Just thought I'd let you know. Thank you so much for
next time.
Thanks for the time. Very much appreciate it.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers. Powered by North by Northeast Music Festival. Taking place June 10th to 14th across Toronto. iHeart New Music. Stream now, online, on your smart speaker, and preset on the free iHeartRadio app.